So what I'd like to do is just ask you a few questions about the earth and the healing and how we as human beings can assist in that process. So my first question, I guess it's on the top of mind for everyone at the moment. Everyone must be feeling a little bit scared about the natural disasters that are going on in the world. So what's your take on the natural disasters? Is this the Earth's way of telling us that we're doing something wrong, that we need to change something within ourselves? And where do you see it going?
It is definitely a message from the Earth that things are changing, and I believe our part to play in that is to stay centred and listen to what part we have to play in that, and whether it's something as simple as stop using Glad wrap and plastic things, and changing that in our way of life, or whether it's something much greater to, saving whales or, whatever you're called to do to assist the earth and animals and humanity in general. And it is part of the pattern of things that are going to continue, and if anything they are going to get worse, but that's not to show all the gloom and doom of that.
Right.
It's just about a process that the earth is going through.
Right. Yes, you were saying that earlier, that it's not all doom and gloom if we all band together and put out that positive energy, because love is stronger than hate. And there's something we can all do, which we'll cover in our next few questions. Another interesting thing that came up for me today was the topic of wireless technology, something very close to the heart. As a business person, I use a lot of wireless technology, and so do many billions of people out there in the world. What's your take on wireless technology and the effect of electromagnetic fields on humans and the earth?
Well, we're created in a certain way, and our body is not designed to live in the electromagnetic field. It does affect us, and it affects our health, it affects our emotions, it affects our lives in a great way, and it will be in the future that we see that. Some people, like myself, who are very sensitive to it, are starting to get affected already, but with so much more of the wireless and the microwave technology for the communication towers, so much of it increasing on Earth, it's like we're living in a toxic soup. And there's some great work out there already about how they're proving this, and what you can do about it to protect yourself. There are things you can do, and of course one of them is to try and stay out of those fields, which is difficult in our world. We have to live with that technology, but to stay out of it as much as you can. But when you do, protect yourself with something. There are pendants, there are crystals, there are things you can do about that electromagnetic field. However, don't underestimate it. It is cooking us from the inside out.
Yes,
that's just a reality. That's right. And a lot of the light workers, including myself and others that I know, are being encouraged to actually move out of cities where this is prolific, and we won't be able to survive in there, to live there. We'll be going out in the country where it's not quite as bad. It's still there. It's very hard to escape, but we're actually being encouraged and told to move, and because the energy in the cities is going to get even more dense, the more of those fields become, for more of those fields they're going to switch on. It's going to become even stronger, and it will put it's already starting to do it to animals, and that migratory path and pattern is being disrupted and disturbed, and it's part of the reason I believe that whales beach themselves. They're often feeling, and a lot of people experience that, but they don't know what it is, and they're just literally being cooked.
I hear stories all the time about people having headaches and migraines, and it's no wonder when you're working in a city with tens and thousands of computers and other forms of wireless technology, why that's happening. I guess it would be a good recommendation to say to people, get out into nature as much as you can. If you're working in an office, then balance that with some time outdoors.
Absolutely, that would be a great thing to do, because the trees and the plants actually help to pull some of that out of our aura. So to go outside and earth yourself is a great activity to help keep yourself clean.
You were talking earlier about a very interesting topic about property and the energy fields around property, and you were discussing the various different types of energy, water, etc. I know you've worked with property developers and property buyers, you know, with working out whether that property has a good energy, and you know, giving them advice on whether they should purchase that property or develop property on that land. And you've done this for how many customers already?
Oh, there would be hundreds and hundreds. You know, I've been doing this for about 4 or 5 years and getting a lot of repeat trade, because they've seen that it's helped with the sale of their property, or you know, the property just feels better, or whatever, or the development goes, you know, easily through council, or whatever it is their block was. And so yeah, it's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds.
Yes. And I believe that you spoke about that on when you were on Brisbane Extra, and about how just shifting a few bits of energy can change people's businesses and can change people's lives at home. You were telling a story earlier about the lady that came to see you to clear her house, and her husband suddenly ended up wanting to contribute after many years of not ever getting off the couch to contribute a thing. Very interesting stories. So, you know, if someone was out there in the market for a property, or looking to develop property on a land that they have their eye on, how would they get in touch with you so that you could go out and work with them to feel the energy in that property?
Most of my work comes in through the telephone, through referral, rather than through the website. Some of the overseas work does, so it would be to phone me. That would begin the process. And it seems to start, just that connection seems to start the process of healing, because people have talked about the minute they contacted me, things started to change, because it is about that connection. You know, my heart instantly starts to feel or experience where they're living and what's going on, or what their intention is for a development. It's an automatic thing that just starts to happen now. And so the next step would be they choose. There's 2 ways that I work. One is the remote healings, or distance healings I call them, and for that they would send a plan to me, and then I do the reading and then scan email that back to them, and then have a phone consultation about the adjustments that I've done, what I found, and what they have to do. So it might be as simple as bearing a crystal, or putting a coloured piece of paper on, or whatever's going on the land, or I go out on site. So there's 2 different ways that I do that, and the on site is a bit like an education process, because I can spend more time educating them about what's actually on their land, and how, you know, what I can do to adjust that energy, and then what they have to do to carry that out.
So give me an example of a story where you've gone in to a person's property, say they're on a pre-purchase inspection, and you've been able to give them you've been able to see the energy of that property and advise them.
Okay, so in a situation like that, they haven't even gone to contract stage yet. So they're very excited about what they found, and so they're waiting, you know, on the edge of their seat to hear what I've got to say about, is this land okay or not? And 9 times out of 10, they can go ahead with it. And so I do the pre-purchase reading, which is a bit like half a reading, I guess, just to get it ready so it can go through to contract stage. We call it seamlessly. No hiccups, finance doesn't crash, you know, it goes through smoothly. So out of that, I guess 1% would be where I would have to say, no matter what we do, we can't fix what's here. Now, what I mean by that, it could be that this person is like a light vibration like we are, and they're trying to buy a property that's very heavy, and near it is high-powered lines, electricity lines. there's not much we can do with the strength of them with a light being, because we would be more affected than someone who, I'm going to say, had a denser vibrational frequency that was just getting up, going to work, didn't know a thing about God or themselves, or, you know, just existing.
Right.
So their vibration would be affected eventually, but not as quickly. So in that case, I would have to say, we can't fix this for you.
Yeah.
You need to go and find somewhere else
Yeah.
to live. And while they might be crestfallen or upset about that, they know in the long run it will bring them greater joy to pay attention to that,
Yes.
because the only thing that would come of living beside those highs would be illness,
Yes.
you know,
Yes.
and it would be that slow decline. And in slow, I'm saying that within 12 months, usually a light worker is pretty sick physically living near that sort of energy,
Yes.
or they're having lots of drama in their lives, in relationship, and a few other things would be going wrong.
Yes.
Mm.
And you can also go into people that are living in existing properties
Mhm.
and do clearing. So, for example, you were speaking earlier about the lady, the producer of Brisbane Extra,
Mhm.
who was finding it difficult to fall pregnant for 10 years,
Mm.
and then you came along and tell the story about what happened.
Well, in healing her land, she had an underground water body that will always affect women, because we're more energetically a little bit more fluid, so we get more affected by that underground water. And she had what they call blister tanks. So they're tanks of water that are in plastic under the house as well.
Mm.
So she had lots and lots of water. So for her body, it was like she was drowning. Now, when you've got that much water in the body, the uterus can be what we call a little bit damp or wet, and it won't host the fire of a new life in there.
Right.
So that once we negated and healed all of that effect of water on her being, and a few other things on the property, they weren't as dramatic, then her energy was able to respond to living in a vibration that supported her rather than drained away from her. And so then she was able to host the child.
That's
energetically.
fantastic. And after how many weeks did she fall pregnant?
Within 8 weeks, I got the news that she was pregnant.
That's fantastic.
Mm.
So for those of you, experiencing a similar situation, Maggie Landman is the person to contact, definitely, to come and have a look and see, what's going on in your home, and if there's energy there that she can clear to help you to achieve your goals, whether it be wanting to fall pregnant, or perhaps there's something that you're wanting to achieve in life, in the 7 areas of life that's just not happening for you for some reason. So we're going to have the details for Maggie Landman